$2,000. Exacta trifecta first half of the early daily double. Field at 10, no changes. The one is Sandman's Impact, owned and trained by Ronald Gillerman of Sardinia, Ohio, with Jeff Neisonger. Number 2 is Martinsville Girl by Michael Ray West of Louisville, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer, Jason Brewer at the lines. The 3 is TSM Starburst by John Howard of Morgantown, West Virginia, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr., Brett Miller. The 4 is Stormy Gray Sea by Scott Rooks of Greenfield, Ohio, trained and driven by Keith Haynes. The 5 is Ticket Taboo by Rhonda Kahn of Printer, Kentucky, trained by Harla Kahn with Dan Noble. The 6 is Ms. Macarena, owned by James Davis of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott with Sam Chip Noble III. The 7 is Loser's Bracket, owned and trained by Thomas Lee Smith of Lebanon, Ohio, with Bob Harper. The 8 is TM's Rockin' Robin with the Horner Racing Stables of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Tom Horner Jr., Jeff Fount. From the outside of the 9 is Make Mine Black by the Shout Stable of Pompano Beach, Florida, trained and driven by Rick Shout. And scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Sporty Carla, owned by Tim McCoy of Springboro, Ohio, trained and driven by the K-Man, Kane Kaufman, in her song. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out for the lead. There goes Ms. Macarena. In between horses, there is Stormy Gray Sea. Inside, there is TSM Starburst. From off the rail is Sandman's Impact as they race over to the opening quarter. Along the inside, coming away in 5 from off the second tier, that is Sporty Carla. To the inside, racing in 6th is Martinsville Girl. Then we have Ticket Taboo in 7th and 8th there along the inside. Loser's Bracket. Then the 2 trailers here are TM's Rockin' Robin and Make Mine Black. As they race towards the opening quarter came and went in 28 3/5 and Stormy Gray Sea with the lead here, but now pressing over the outside. Ms. Macarena looks as though she'll be taking the long mile, the outside in 2. Ms. Macarena, the outside. From the inside, Stormy Gray Sea, she's hanging her. Along the inside and off stride and rough gated, there is the 3-horse TSM Starburst, and Brett Miller does a good job to get her out of the way as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. Stormy Gray Sea with the lead here to the inside. Ms. Macarena's found the garden spot, racing in 2. Along the inside, Sandman's Impact is going along in 3rd and is now first to flush on the outside. Off the half in 58 3/5. Off the turn, and fillies and mares' heads are pointed towards 3/4 and from the inside. Stormy Gray Sea with the lead here, but now is being put to the test. First over the outside, Sandman's Impact is right alongside of the leader in 2. Along the inside, Ms. Macarena is trying to go with him in 3rd. Now swung up 3 wide to the outside there in 4th. Here comes Loser's Bracket. In between horses there, that is Martinsville Girl. Buried at the rail is Sporty Carla. They went by 3/4 and 1:28 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Stormy Gray Sea with the lead here to the inside. Sandman's Impact will now angle back to the outside, and Loser's Bracket has picked up ground there in 3rd to the top of Power Alley. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come of the opener. Stormy Gray Sea to the inside, but Sandman's Impact and Ace Neisonger blows right on by. Sandman's Impact in front. Stormy Gray Sea to go 2nd. Loser's Bracket was 3rd at the top of the mile. 1:58 2/5. Sandman's Impact. So winner, the 9-year-old bay mare by Sandman Hanover out of a hard sudden impact mare. She by Crash. Owned and trained by Ronald Gillerman of Sardinia, Ohio, stopping the teletimer at 1:58 2 for the first victory in 2003. The one Sandman's Impact in Jeff Ace Neisonger, now your official winner. 1479 is official. 14 exact is $76 even. 147 try, $3,312.80. Edition trot of 1 mile, a purse of $2,800, a field of 9. Drivers change on the 2. Cobra Sabra, Brent Miller, exactas and tries. Number 1 is I'm Maxed Out by Fred Frempel in Napoleon, Ohio, trained by Mr. Todd Christie with Jeff Ace Neisonger. Number 2 is Cobra Sabra by Gary Adams of Circleville, Ohio, trained by Jerry Kuchbach with Brent Miller. The 3 is Mario's Gotti, owned and trained by Donald Foltz II of Paulding, Ohio, with Sam Chip Noble III. Number 4 is Dinah Slick, owned by Thomas Tharps and James Snugger. They're of Ohio and New York, trained by Tom Tharps with Bob Harper. The 5 is Ring S'more by the Thomas Stable, North Canton, Ohio, trained by Edward Thomas with Jeff Fount. The 6 is Chips Ablaze. My Bud Light Long Shot of the Night is owned by Jay and Kim Germonte Sears at Deerfield Beach, Florida, trained by Jay Sears. Kyle Later is up. The 7 is Angel Touched, owned by George Redden of Van Buren, Ohio, trained and driven by John Kaneski III. The 8 is quickly took over by Elizabeth Brandt of Logan, Ohio, trained and driven by David Myers. And from the outside of the 9 is Ask Me About It by Parker of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and Berger of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Doug Parker, Kane Kaufman in the sulky. That's the field for the... They're all fan trotting in, firing away for the lead. Middle of the track, there goes the 4, Dinah Slick, driving up in between horses there. That is Chips Ablaze. Coming away on the outside there in third, that is Angel Touch. Along the inside, trotting in fourth is I'm Maxed Out. Away in 5 is Cobra Sabra. To the outside there in sixth is Quickly Took Over. 7th is Mario's Gotti. 8th along the inside, that is Ringsmore. And 9th and trailing the field, Ask Me About It, and the K-Man can see them all as they trot towards the opening quarter. The opening quarter comes and goes in 28 seconds flat, and on top, Dinah Slick leads the way here by a length and a quarter. Along the inside, trotting into, that is Chips Ablaze as they trot by the stand for the first time and head on down to the half, and Angel Touch has closed the gap, trotting in third. 4th is I'm Maxed Out. 5th is Cobra Sabra, who is flushed out there. Second over the outside, and then racing in 6th, flushing out that cover is Ring Some More. To the inside in 7th is Mario's Gotti. 8th along the rail, Quickly Took Over, and 9th and trailing the field, Ask Me About It, as they trot around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, and on top of the field, Dinah Slick took them to the half. They're halfway home, 59 1/5. A second panel at 31 1. Off the turn of their long journey down the backside, it begins, and on top, Dinah Slick and Bob Harper with the lead here, but now ranging up on the outside, Cobra Sabras at the leaders, wheel disc into and advancing nicely there. Along the inside, Chips Ablaze is trotting in third. Second over the outside, perfectly placed in fourth. That is Ring Some More. To the inside there in 5. Angel Touch to the outside in 6th. Mario's Gotti. 7th along the rail. I'm Maxed Out. 8th on the outside. Quickly Took Over, and 9th and trailing the field. Ask Me About It as they went by 3/4 in 1, 28 4/5. And Cobra Sabra has jumped it off stride. They'll trot the final turn and head to the top of Heartbreak Lane. And on top with the lead, Dinah Slick will be set down with a stretch drive on top by a length and a half. And now being angled to the outside, Chips Ablaze. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Dinah Slick to the inside. Chips Ablaze is coming to him and coming on. And Chips Ablaze, the Bud Light long shot of the night, gets up to win it. Dinah Slick to go second. I'm Maxed Out was third at the time of the mile, 1:58 flat. Chips Ablaze. Photo for win. Number 6, Chips Ablaze, trotting the mile at 1:58 flat. A 4-year-old big outing by Pine Chimp out of a Blaze of Fury. She by Speedy Crown. By Jay and Kim Shermonte Sears at Deerfield Beach, Florida. Trained by Jay Sears. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Kyle Ader. Top of the mile, 1:58 flat. The 6, Chips Ablaze, the race winner. Pays of 1 mile, a purse at $2,200. Exactas in try, scratch the 6, play with fire, sick. Drivers change on the 10, Rita's Velvet, Jeff Fout. The 1 is Katie Casey by Lindell Adamski and Alan Kirchenbaum of Florida and California, trained and driven by Joe Adamski. The 2 is Charity Bond by Moen of Fortright, Kentucky, and Morgan of Villa Hills, Kentucky, trained by Tom Horner Jr. with Brett Miller. The 3 is Trisha Lou by James Davis of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott with Jeff Ace Nicehonger. The 4 is Amy's Shining Angel by Deborah Sears at Delaware, Ohio, trained by Larry Sears with Dan Noble. The 5 is Taylor Lane Viper by Barker of Chillicothe, Ohio, and Reinhardt of Frankfort, Ohio, trained by Ron Barker with Dave Hawk. The 6, Play with Fire, is out sick. The 7 is Don't Slow Down. The lessee is also the trainer and driver, Bob Harper of Galloway, Ohio. The 8 is VC on Time by Doug Meyer of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Jeff Amen with Sam Chip Noble III. For the outside of the 9 is Electric Puppy by Russell and Mayberry Jr. of Kentucky, trained and driven by Tom Russell. And scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Rita's Velvet by Billy Joe Raleigh of Eubank, Kentucky, trained by Tommy Smith. Jeff Fout in her sulky. For the start, back down, pacing field, in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out for the lead. Middle of the track, there goes Taylor Lane Viper. And Taylor Lane Viper has jumped it off stride there on a bad break as they race into the first turn. And Amy's Shining Angel comes out with the lead here. And Don't Slow Down is now driving up on the outside and looking to take over. Got to the outside of there is VC on time in third. Along the inside in fourth, that is Katie Casey. Away in five from off the second tier is Rita's Velvet. Sixth along the inside of there, that is Charity Bond. Seventh there along the rail, that is Trisha Lou. Eighth along the inside, Electric Puppy, and ninth and trailing the field, Taylor Lane Viper after the early miscue by the opening quarter in 28 3/5 as they pass by the stand for the first time and head on down to the half, and BC on time out there leading it by length and 3/4, but now right back on the outside, here comes Don't Slow Down and Bob Harper as they race around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, and Don't Slow Down is forging onto the front end tier. VC on time will yield for a garden spot, racing in two. Amy's Shining Angel is unhurried in third. Fourth to the inside and now swung to the outside of there. That is Katie Casey as they went the half in 58 3/5. A second panel with 30 seconds flat. Off the turn and their heads are pointed towards 3/4. Fillies and Mares rolling towards 3/4 and on top. Don't Slow Down with the lead here. Advancing first over the rim, racing into at the leader's wheel disc. That is Katie Casey along the inside. VC on time is going along in third. Second over the outside, racing in fourth. There is Rita's Velvet. Buried at the rail in five. Amy's Shining Angel. Outer flow in sixth. That is Charity Bond. Going by 3/4 and 128 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Don't Slow Down under a tippy tap of the whip from Harper. Opens up by 2.5. Now swung up 3 wide to the outside. Here comes Rita's Velvet as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and Don't Slow Down with the lead here is opening up and drawing away with every single stride as they roll within the final 16th. They're not going to get to Don't Slow Down. Don't Slow Down in front. Finishing second to 4, Amy's Shining Angel. Third was the 10, Rita's Velvet at the top of the mile, 158 flat. Don't Slow Down and a new lifetime mark. The winner of the third race and a new lifetime mark, 158 flat. Here's the 7, Don't Slow Down. A 3-0 black filly by Broadway Jate out of a Can't Catch Kim mare. She bite log. The lessee is also the trainer and driver, Bob Harper of Galloway, Ohio. Second win, 2003. Second win of her career. New lifetime mark, 158 flat. The 7, Don't Slow Down. Horses are on the track and printed the post for the fourth race. The fourth leg of event number 8 for 2-year-old Colt Pacers. Pace of 1 mile, a purse of $3,500. Exact to trifecta early pick 3 wagering begins here. Scratch the 1, Nuclear Scooter Sick. The 2 is He's a Magic Man. Mike Keaton of Morristown, Indiana, and Sanders of Franklin, Indiana. Trained by Joe Essig with Bob Harper. The 3 is Continental Cam by J&J Como Jr. Incorporated at Waco, New Jersey. Trained by Peter Foley with Jeff Ace Nicehonger. The 4 is Chain of Command by the Patricia Stable of Massapequa, New York, trained by Peter Foley with Brett Miller. The 5 is Maxine's Belief, owned by Margaret Holler of Chillicothe, Ohio, trained by Dan Ader, Kyle Ader at the lines. And for the outside of the 6 is Caviar Houston by Judith Chafee and Clarence Chafee Jr. of Vienna, Virginia, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dave Hawk in the sulky. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the outside. There goes Caviar Houston, who's headed out for command here. From the inside, He's a Magic Man has come away in 2. The inside, Continental Cam is racing in 3rd. Dropping in 4th, that is Chain of Command. And 5th and trailing the field, there is Maxine's Belief as they wheel by the opening 8th and over to the opening quarter. A field of 5 being led on top by Caviar Houston and Dave Hawk. Leading it here by length and 3/4. To the inside, He's a Magic Man is tracking him from the garden spot. Racing in 2. Continental Cam is going along in 3rd. Off the opening quarter in 28 3/5. Along the inside in 4th is Chain of Command in 5th and trailing the field. That is Maxine's Belief as they pass the stand for the first time and head on down to the half, and on top, Caviar Houston rolling under the wire with 5/8 of a mile remaining. Leads it here by length and a half. Along the inside, He's a Magic Man is still right there racing in 2. Continental Cam is racing in 3rd. Chain of Command racing in 4th and 5th and trailing the field. Maxine's Belief as they wheel around the clubhouse, turn in front of the paddock, and on on over to the half. On top, through the half and 59 and 2/5, Caviar Houston. Off the turn and driving down the backside, Caviar Houston. The 2-year-old brown colt by No Nukes leads it here by length and a half. On the inside, He's a Magic Man is going right with him in 2. On the inside in 3rd is Continental Cam. 4th, that is Chain of Command. And 5th, and trailing the field, Maxine's Belief. They're still in straight alignment as they stroll down the backside. And on top, Caviar Houston leading the way here to the inside. He's a Magic Man is still poised in the garden spot, racing into 3/4 and 129 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Caviar Houston under a tippy tap of the whip and opens up by 3.5 to the inside. He's a Magic Man, could not go with him in 2. Continental Cam is out for the drive to the outside in 3rd. To the top of Power Alley, less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and Caviar Houston is kicking away by 8 as they draw towards the wire. Caviar Houston showing his heels to the field. Continental Cam to go 2nd. Going to be very close there for 3rd. Down the mile, 157, 1/5. Caviar Houston, first career victory. 4th race, the 4th leg of event number 8 for 2-year-old Colt Pacers. Breaking his maiden here in 157 and 1. Here's the 6th, Caviar Houston. 2-year-old brown colt by No Nukes, out of a Caviar Kimmy Mares. She by Cam Testic, by Judith Chafee and Clarence Chafee Jr. of Vienna, Virginia. Trained by Jim Artledge Jr. Very nicely driven this evening. Gate to wire by winning driver Dave Hawk. The 6, Caviar Houston and Dave Hawk, 157, 1/5. 6-3 exact return to 1580, 635 try, 5040. In Geldings, maiden claiming pace, a 1 mile, a purse of $2,000, exacta trifecta wagering. Scratch the 7, Rippin' John 6. Scratch the 8, JL Cam Magic 6. The 1 is Andrews Line Drive, owned by Craig Blatchford of Mantua, Ohio. Trained by Ron Potter with Jeff Fount. The 2 is Arcade's Bullwinkle by Karen and Richard Graham of Zanesfield, Ohio. Trained by Richard Graham with Bob Harper at the lines. Number 3 is Corsair Hanover by Iris Horwitz of Brooklyn, New York. Trained by Tim Rucker, Sam Chipnoble III. The 4 is Ardiste, first time Lasix here by Short of Delaware, Ohio, and Paint Creek Farms of Rochester, Michigan. Trained by Jeff Short, Dave Hawk. The 5 is Jazzy Connection by Ann Klotz and Janet Dar, both of the Buckeye State, Orient, Ohio. Trained by Dave Klotz. Brett Miller is up, and for the outside of the 6 is Scootin' Cheetah by Ann Kirk of Lockbourne, Ohio, and John Rogers of Columbus, Ohio. Trained by Danny Collins, Dan Noble in the sulky. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and flashing early speed and pushing the gate away. There goes the 3, Corsair Hanover right for the lead. Andrews Line Drive from off the rail will come away in the garden spot. Racing in 2, Arcade's Bullwinkle was away in 3rd. Looking to drop in 4th, that is Jazzy Connection. Away in 5, that is Ardiste. And 6th, and trailing the field is Scootin' Cheetah. And Dan Noble can see them all as they pace around the first turn and over to the opening quarter. And on top, Corsair Hanover leads it here by 3, and Chip's trying to throttle him down on the front end, leading him through an opening quarter at 28 and 4/5. Corsair Hanover leads it here on the inside. Andrews Line Drive is going along in 2. Arcade's Bullwinkle is racing in 3rd. First over the outside in 4th, that is Jazzy Connection. Flushing up on the outside, second over there on the outside, racing in 5 is Ardiste, and 6th, and trailing the field, Scootin' Cheetah as they race around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half. On top, Corsair Hanover with the lead here. Andrews Line Drive is going along in 2 in the garden spot along the inside, racing in 3rd as they race by the half. That is Arcade's Bullwinkle. They race by the half in 58 and 3/5. A second panel at 29 and 4. Off the turn and driving down the backside, and on top, Corsair Hanover leads them as their heads are pointed towards 3/4. On the inside, racing in 2 is Andrews Line Drive. Now first to flush on the outside in 3rd. Here comes Arcade's Bullwinkle. Second over the outside in 4th, Ardiste. 5th on the inside, Scootin' Cheetah. And 6th, and trailing the field way back here, Jazzy Connection. As they race by 3/4 on the board in 128 and 1/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And your punter's choice, 3 to 5. Corsair Hanover leads it here, but now grinding it out. First over the outside in 2 is Arcade's Bullwinkle. And awaiting the passing lane, that is Andrews Line Drive. And ready to swing up 3 high for the stretch drive. Ardiste off the turn and less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Corsair Hanover's being put to the test. Andrews Line Drive is charging hard to the passing lane as they roll within the final 16th. Corsair Hanover, Andrews Line Drive, those 2 to the wire. Down the mile, 158 flat. Photo for win. Very big tight guy out of a Stormy Falcon mare. She by Falcon Elmhurst. Owned by Craig Blatchford of Mantua, Ohio. Trained by Ron Potter. Jeff Fout drives 158 flat. The one Andrews line drive. Breaks his maiden here in 158. One is Regal Visitor by Jane Cummins of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by Charlie Beaver with Bob Harper. The two is Tango Springs by John Howard of Morgantown, West Virginia, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Brett Miller is up. The three is Tropical Paradise by Harry and Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Tim Rucker, Debbie Rucker. The four is McAlex, owned by McCoy of Ohio and Louisiana, trained by Sandy Beatty with Dallas Miller. The five is Sand Chick by Bill Centers of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by the Big T, Terry, Tim Holton, Jeff, Ace, Nicehonger. The six is She's Striking by Rhonda Kahn of Printer, Kentucky, trained by Harla Kahn with Dan Noble. The seven is Striking Sabrina. The lessee is also the trainer, Jack Daly of Jamestown, Ohio. Jeff Daly is up. The eight is You're Adorable by Breckler, Campbell, and Rhodes Jr. on the Buckeye State, trained by Scott Mogan, Dave Hawk. The nine is Carrier Rose by Larry Cleland of Bainbridge, Ohio, trained and driven by Keith Haynes, and scoring from off the second tier is number 10, Rick's Victory by Carter of Londonderry, Ohio, and Easterday of Chillicothe, Ohio, trained and driven by Steve Carter in the sulky. Field in motion. They're all fan trotting and firing away from the inside. There goes Tango Springs. Right alongside is Tropical Paradise. Driving up from the outside, there is You're Adorable. On the inside in four, that is Regal Visitor. The outside of there in five is Carrier Rose. Sixth on the inside, that is Mick Alex. Coming away in seventh, that is Sand Chick. Eighth along the inside of there, that is She's Striking. Ninth is Striking Sabrina. And 10th and trailing the field after the early miscue is Rick's Victory. As they trot around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, and off stride there went You're Adorable, and You're Adorable is on a break there. Opening quarter in 29 seconds flat as they trot by the stand for the first time and head on down to the half, and Tango Springs has relinquished the lead here to Regal Visitor, who rolls up on the outside to take the lead here. Regal Visitor, Tango Springs, along in third, that is Tropical Paradise. Fourth there, that is Mick Alex. First over the outside, trotting in five, that is Sand Chick. Along the inside in sixth is Carrier Rose. The outside there in seventh, that is She's Striking. Eighth along the inside there as they trot towards the half, that is Striking Sabrina. Ninth along the inside after the miscue is You're Adorable, and 10th and trailing the field. Back off stride is Rick's Victory. They reach the half in 59 and 3/5 and off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards three quarters, and Tango Springs is back to the front end here. And now ranging up on the outside, Sand Chick is first over at the leader's wheel disc in two. On the inside, Regal Visitor is watching over the doing leaders from third. A gap at 2.5, trotting in fourth. That is Tropical Paradise to the outside and swung up 3 wide of the outside in 5. Here comes Striking Sabrina, and Striking Sabrina is trotting up a storm of the outside. Three quarters in 129 and 4/5. They'll trot the final turn and head for home. Tango Spring to the inside under a tippy tap of the whip. Sand Chick has been first over since the 3/8. She's still there, still coming to the leader. And Regal Visitor awaits the passing lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. Tango Springs with the lead here to the outside. Sand Chick and forging in the passing lane. Regal Visitor is coming on. And Regal Visitor gets up to win it by a length and a quarter. To the inside, Tango Springs is second. Third was the 5, Sand Chick. The top of the mile, 159 2/5. Regal Visitor, the new lifetime mark. Pick 3, 3 of 3, 2 of 3 rather, 6-1-1, 19-20. Trackside of the winner's circle, the official winner of the 6th race, number 1 Regal Visitor, 3-year-old bay colt by Malabar Man out of a Crown Gust mare, she by Royal Prestige, by Jane Cummins of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by Charlie Beaver. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Bob Harper. That's 2 wins on this evening's card for driver Bob Harper, giving him a driving double. 2 wins for the one Regal Visitor in his career, timed at 1:59 2/5, new lifetime mark. Draw Jeff Fount. The one is Bob King Cotton by James Richard Hess of Leesburg, Florida, trained by Fred Winstead Jr. with Dave Honk. Number 2 is Jim Badger by the Shout Stable, Pompano Beach, Florida, trained and driven by Rick Shout. Number 3 is William J. Bonney by Rick Starr of Hilliard, Ohio, trained by Jeff Brewer, Jason Brewer at the lines. There's the 4, Hold This, owned by Hushang Mominpour of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by Lamar Moody, Brett Miller. The 5, Yankee Frankie, owned by Susan and Philip James of Middletown, Ohio, trained by Phil James, John Collins. The 6 is Al's Draw by Billy Joe Raleigh of Eubank, Kentucky, trained by Tommy Smith. Drivers changed to Jeff Fount. The 7 is Jake Propelled, owned and trained by Ron Barker of Chillicothe, Ohio. Bob Harper at the lines. The 8 is Racing Prince by Davis, King, and Schultz. They're all of the Buckeye State, trained by Brandon Piggott, Jeff Ace Nicehunger. And for the outside of the 9 is Caleb Special by Pearl Warren Paver of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Joe Paver, Dan Noble in the sulky. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. Bob King Cotton uses the pole position to his advantage and takes the lead by length and a quarter. Along the inside, Jim Badger has come away in 2. Cut to the outside in 3rd is Yankee Frankie. The inside in 4th is William J. Bonney. Along the rail in 5, that is Hold This. Looking to drop in 6th, that is Jake Propelled. 7th there along the rail, that is Al's Draw. A gap of 2. Racing there in 8th, that is Racing Prince. In 9th and trailing the field, Caleb Special, and Dan Noble can see them all. As they move by the opening quarter came and went in 28 1/5. As they pass the stand for the first time and head on down to the half, Bob King Cotton on the front interior, leading it by length and a half. Grinding it out, long mile in 2, that is Yankee Frankie. Along the inside in 3rd is Jim Badger. Long mile the outside, second over in 4th, that is Jake Propelled. Buried at the rail in 5 is William J. Bonney. 3rd over the outside of there in 6th is Al's Draw. 7th along the rail there as they pace around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, that is Hold This. 8th up on the outside and off stride went the 7 Jake Propelled as they went by the half in 58 1/5. A second panel there, well rated of 30 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and Bob King Cotton is carving out the fractions here with 3/8 of a mile remaining. Along the inside, Jim Badger is going along in 2. Swung up 3 deep on the outside. Al's Draw is advancing towards the leaders there. Can't go on from 4th is Yankee Frankie and swung up 3 wide around that one, Racing Prince, as they race towards 3/4 and 1:27 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And Bob King Cotton, your 4 to 5 punter's choice, leads it here by length and a half. Along the inside, Jim Badger is trying to come to him in second, along with Al's Draw. Off the turn and spinning to the top of the stretch. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. To the inside, Bob King Cotton, but to the inside now, Jim Badger is coming to him and coming on. Bob King Cotton, Jim Badger way out wide. Hold This, Jim Badger in front. Down of the mile, 1:57 3/5. Jim Badger in a photo for Place and Show. Trackside of the winner's circle, the unofficial, now your official winner of the 7th race, claiming pace, timed at 1:57 3 to pick up the first win in 2003. The 2, Jim Badger. 11-year-old bay horse by Signed and Sealed out of a Precious Lynette mare, she by Precious Fella. By the Shout Stable of Pompano Beach, Florida. Nicely trained and driven by Rick Shout, the 2, Jim Badger. First victory here in 2003, 1:57 3/5. 2-1 exacta, 29.40, 2-1-4 try, 2:56.40. Rundown for the 7th, the 1 Bob King Cotton 2, the 2 Jim Badger, the race winner, timed at 1:57 3, the 3 William J. Bonney 6, the 4 Hold This 3, the 5 Yankee Frankie 8, the 6 Al's Draw 4, the 7 Jake Propelled 7, the Bango for me at 2:56.40.
Wow.
That try boxer. I've been pretty hot on those tries over the last couple of nights. Give one last night. It was an $1,100 try box. Horses are on the track and printed the pose for the 8th race, 4th leg of event number 8 for 2-year-old Colt Pacers. Pace of 1 mile, purse at $3,500. Exacta trifecta late pick 3. Wagering begins here. Win place, no show wagering. The 1 is Delray Rocket by the Towering Oaks Farm Incorporated of Mentor, Ohio, trained by Scott Cox with Danny Noble. The 2 is Soldier of Music by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Mike Metters with Bob Harper. The 3 is Red Silk Sails, owned and trained by Sam Noble Jr. of Cedarville, Ohio, with Sam Chip Noble III. The 4 is Gold Star Pitcher by Jay and Kim Shermonte Sears of Deerfield Beach, Florida, trained by Jay Sears, Kylater at the lines. The 5 is Sand Sacks by Bill Sanders of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by Jim Ortledge Jr. Brett Miller drives. And the 6 Boys Town by J&J Como Jr. Incorporated, Waco, New Jersey, trained by Peter Foley, Dave Hawk, in the sulky. That's the field for the 8th race. The is in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away for the lead. Middle of the track, there goes the 3 Red Silk Sails. Off stride went the 5 Sand Sacks. Sand Sacks is on a break there as they race into the first turn and over to the opening quarter. And Red Silk Sails is setting sail for the frontier. On the inside, Del Rey Rocket comes away, racing into a gap of a length and a half in third. That is Soldier of Music. Away in fourth there, that is Boys Town. Fifth on the inside, that is Gold Star Pitcher. And way back to the 6th and trailing horse here after the early miscue, Sand Sacks. By the opening quarter came and went in 28 and 2/5. And Red Silk Sails with the lead here. Del Rey Rocket is racing into. On the inside, Soldier of Music in third, and now rushing up on the outside. First over, here comes Boys Town, and Boys Town is looking to circle up to the front end here as they step around the clubhouse, turning on over to the half, and Boys Town is trying to clear to the front. Red Silk Sails will yield for a garden spot, racing in two. On the inside, Del Rey Rocket is going along in third. Soldier of Music racing in fourth. Fifth there, that is Gold Star Pitcher, and sixth and trailing the field, Sand Sacks, as they reach the half in 57 and 4/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards three quarters with Boys Town showing the way here. And now up on the outside, Del Rey Rocket at the leader's wheel disc in two. Along the inside, Red Silk Sails is watching over the dueling leaders from third. Second over the outside, racing in fourth. That is Gold Star Pitcher. To the inside, racing in five, Soldier of Music, and sixth and trailing the field, Sand Sacks by three quarters in 127 and 1/5. Boys Town with the lead here. Your 2 to 5 punter's choice is being put to the test by Del Rey Rocket on the outside. And now ready to swing up 3 wide to the outside. Here comes Gold Star Pitcher off the turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. And Boys Town is kicking clear here. Boys Town is going to remain undefeated. The 2-year-old bay gelding by Jenna's Beach Boy is 5 of 5 in his early career. Finishing second was the 1 Del Rey Rocket. It was close for third. May have been the 4 Gold Star Pitcher. The top of the mile, 155, 2/5. Boys Town. And the winner's circle, the unofficial winner of the 8th race. The 4th leg of event number 8 for 2-year-old Colt Pacers. Timed at 155 and 2 to establish a new lifetime mark. Here's the 6 Boys Town. He's undefeated, 5 of 5 in his early career. He's a 2-year-old bay gelding by Jenna's Beach Boy. Out of a With Liberty mare, she by Big Towner by J&J Como Jr. Incorporated of Waco, New Jersey, trained by Peter Foley. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Dave Hawk. The 6 Boys Town, undefeated, 155, 2/5, new lifetime mark. For driver Dave Hawk, that's 2 wins on this evening's program, giving him a driving double. Kelly Rucker brings them out for this evening's 9th race. Stallions and Geldings, maiden claiming pace, 1 mile. First half of the late daily double. Purse of $2,000. Exactas and tries, a field of 8. The 1 is Sam's in Town by Gerald Criswell, Marion, Ohio, trained by Delvin Criswell, Kylater. The 2, Expected Return by John McDonough, Springfield, Ohio, trained by Chris Justice, Sam Chip Noble III. Number 3 is Magnificent by Harry and Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Tim Rucker, Debbie Rucker at the lines. The 4 is Tyler Forever by Harriet Fout of Greenfield, Ohio, trained by Raymond Carnes with Dallas Miller. The 5 is Look Chad, owned and trained by Rusty Lees of Waynesville, Ohio, with Chad Lees up. The 6 is Harmonicon, owned and trained by Connie Monar of Ashley, Ohio, with Mike Price. The 7 is Fly Fly Man by Calvin Lamb of Marion, Ohio, trained and driven by Bobby Arnett. And for the outside of the 8, On Guard by Hank and Sally Josephic of Washington Township, Ohio. Trained and driven by Mark Evers in the sulky. Hands of the starter, field in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out for the lead. Middle of the track, Magnificent. From the way outside, there is On Guard, who's on the go. From the inside, Sam's in Town has come away in third. To the outside in fourth, that is Look Chad. And along the inside, in five there is Expected Return. Along the inside in sixth is Tyler Forever. Seventh there, that is Harmonicon. Eighth along the inside and trailing the field is Fly Fly Man. As they step towards the opening quarter, and on top of the field, that is Magnificent, and Magnificent reports to the opening quarter in 26 4/5, and that is mighty fast for these. Magnificent and Debbie Rucker by 3. To the inside, On Guard is tracking in the garden spot, racing in 2. Gap of 3.5, racing in 4th is Look Chad. A gap of 3, racing in 4, that is Sam's in Town. 5 there, that is Expected Return. 6th is Tyler Forever. 7th there is Harmonicon, and 8th and trailing the field, Fly Fly Man. As they step around the clubhouse turn, they're well spread out here. And on top, Magnificent took them to the half in 56 2/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. And Magnificent with the lead here and leading it by a length and a half. Along the inside, On Guard is right there in the garden spot, racing in 2. And now On Guard comes to the outside to pressure the pace. Along the inside, racing in 3rd, that is Look Chad. A tip to the outside in 4th. That is Sam's in Town, who's underway there. Inside, racing in 5 and swung up on the outside there. That's Tyler Forever. 6th, that is Expected Return. 7th is Harmonicon. 8th and trailing the field, Fly Fly Man. 3/4 and 127 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Magnificent to the inside. To the outside there, that is On Guard, and now swung up 3-1 to the outside. Here comes Sam's in Town. Tyler Forever will follow that move to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come and around the outside. Sam's Town now strikes the front end here, and Look Chad is coming to him and coming onto the super stretch. To the outside, Sam's in Town. Look Chad on the inside, coming to the wire. Sam's in Town. Look Chad to go second. Tyler Forever was third. Down to the mile, 158 flat. Sam's in Town. In a new lifetime mark, 158 flat. First win in 2003. Here's the one, Sam's in Town. 3-0 Bay coached by Noble and Sam out of a Going to Town mare. She by Farmstead's Fame. By Gerald Criswell, Marion, Ohio. Trained by Delvin Criswell. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Kyle Lader. That's 2 wins on this evening's program for driver Kyle Lader, giving him a driving double. The one, Sam's in Town, from off the rail, new lifetime mark, 158 flat. 1-5 exact at 33.20, 1-5-4 try, 136.20. Exacta, trifecta, superfecta wagering. The one is Weeby Lee with a strong and stable Marion, Ohio, trained and driven by Bobby Arnett. The 2 is Win Some Winter by Ronald Fairchild of Flat Gap, Kentucky, trained by Jeff Brewer, Jason Brewer at the lines. The 3 is Attack Mission, owned and trained by Eddie Pulling of Lebanon, Ohio, with Danny Noble. Number 4 is Miami Jewel by Mullen of Fort Wright, Kentucky, and Morgan of Villa Hills, Kentucky, trained by Mike Barrett. Brett Miller is up. The 5 is Gypsy Double Deal, owned, trained, and driven by the K-Man, Kane Kaufman, Arcanum, Ohio. The 6 is Yankee Dragon by Philip New of Waverly, Ohio, trained by Don Barker, Dave Hawk. The 7 is Bridlewood, owned by Tommy Lee Smith of Lebanon, Ohio, who also does the training. Jeff Fout at the lines. The 8 is Noble Big G, owned by Robertson Gail Impson of Cedarville, Ohio, trained by Gail Impson. Sam Chip Noble III. From the outside of the 9 is Bossy Bill by Joseph Shemaiah of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by Lamar Moody with Jeff Ace Nicehunger. And scoring from off the second tier, number 10, Better Still by Mike Kepler and Dan Russo. Both of the Buckeye State, trained by Mike Kepler. Bob Harper in the sulky. In motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away. Middle of the track, there's the 4, Miami Jewel. From the inside, there is Attack Mission, who's on a mission there. Middle of the racetrack, the 5, Gypsy Double Deal. Also wheeling out for the lead, that is Bridlewood. Away in 5, that is Weeby Lee. Caught to the outside in 6, that is Bossy Bill. 7th along the inside, there is Win Some Winner. 8th along the rail is Yankee Dragon. The 2 trailers are Better Still. and Noble Big G can see them all. As they step towards the opening quarter and on top of the field with the lead here, Attack Mission took them to the opening quarter and zipped them there in 27-2. Along the inside, Gypsy Double Deal is going along in second, and now up on the outside, here comes the 3-5 favorite. Miami Jewel is now sent up underway, looking for the lead here. Second over the outside in fourth, that is Bridal Wood. A gap at 2 in fifth, that is Weeby Lee. Sixth on the inside there, Winsome Winner can't go on from seventh, that is Bossy Bill. Yankee Dragon will have to flip 3 deep there from eighth. Ninth along the inside, Better Still in 10th, and trailing the field, Noble Big G. As they race by the half, they're halfway home in 57 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside, an Attack Mission with the lead here by length. Grinding it out at the leader's wheel disc in 2, that is Miami Jewel. Along the inside, Gypsy Double Deal is watching over the dueling leaders from 3. Second over the outside, racing in fourth, Bridal Wood. Gap of 5 lengths there to the outside, racing in 5. That is Winsome Winner. As they near the 3/4 mile mark of the race in the finale, and on top, Attack Mission with the lead here goes by 3/4 in 1:26 and 1/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. An Attack Mission with the lead here by a length and a half. Miami Jewel ducks back in along the inside, racing in 2. Gypsy Double Deal is racing in 3rd, off the turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Attack Mission is being set down with a set stride and is opening up and drawing away. Attack Mission, gate to wire. Finishing second of the mile will be the 4, Miami Jewel. Third's going to be the 5, Gypsy Double Deal. The Super's going to be real close there to round up the Super for 4th. Top of the mile, 156 flat. Attack Mission. Dan Noble out of the Eddie Pullen to the winner's circle, the unofficial winner of the 10th and final race. Gate to wire in 156 flat. Here's the 3, Attack Mission. Oriole Bay Horse by Pilgrim's Punch out of a Mahalo, she by Log. Owned and trained by Eddie Pulling of Lebanon, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Dan Noble. The 3, Attack Mission, gate to wire. Now your official winner. Top of the mile, 156 flat. 3-4 exacta, 63.80, 3-4-5 try, 541 even. $1 Super, 3-4-5-2. Get back to that late double, 1-3, 83.20. Pick 3, 3 of 3, 613, 141 even. Super, $1 win, 3-4-5-2, $4,473.30.